All right, today we're pulling back the curtain and taking a tour of the engine room of global e-commerce. We're talking about that vast, hyper-specialized manufacturing network in China that makes, well, so much of the stuff we buy online. Let's dive in. You know how it is. You click buy now, and a few days later, a box just shows up at your door. But have you ever stopped to think about the incredible journey that package took? I mean, it doesn't just come from some random warehouse. Its story almost always starts in a very specific city, a place practically built to make that one product better, faster, and cheaper than anywhere else on the planet. To get a sense of the sheer scale we're dealing with, just look at this number. 843.3 billion yuan. That is the value of cross-border e-commerce from just one province, Guangdong, in a single year. That's over 115 billion US dollars. It's just a mind-boggling figure, and it points to an unbelievably powerful system at work.
So, what's the secret sauce? How is a number like that even possible? Well, it all comes down to a concept called industrial belts. The best way to think about it is to imagine entire cities or even whole regions where pretty much everyone and everything is dedicated to making one specific thing. Maybe it's electronics or shoes or furniture. All the suppliers, the factories, the logistics, they're all clustered together, creating this ecosystem of insane efficiency.
So let's start our tour in the south with the undisputed heavyweight champion of Chinese manufacturing, Guangdong Province. This place really is the epicenter of the whole factory of the world idea. Now, what's truly wild about this quote isn't just the final number, it's the speed. A 75-fold increase in just 8 years. That isn't just steady progress, that's an absolute explosion. It's how Guangdong cemented its #1 spot in the entire country. And this map shows you exactly where all that action is concentrated. See, it's not spread out evenly across the province. It's packed into the Pearl River Delta, which is now called the Greater Bay Area. All these cities here work together, almost like perfect, interlocking cogs in one gigantic machine. So let's zoom in on one of those cogs, Shenzhen. If you're holding a smartphone right now or using a laptop or pretty much any piece of consumer tech, there is a very, very good chance that major parts of it, if not the whole thing, came out of this one city. It really is the undisputed electronics capital of the world. And what's wild is that right next door to the tech capital, you have completely different worlds. You've got Guangzhou, which is a massive hub for things like cosmetics and luggage. Then there's the city of Foshan, a global center for furniture and home appliances. Your couch, your fridge, they might have started their journey there. This incredible diversity, all packed into one region, is a huge part of its strength.
Okay, time for our next stop. Let's see how this whole thing builds as we travel up the coast. We're heading to the eastern provinces now, Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Fujian. And let me tell you, each one of these is a manufacturing powerhouse in its own right.
Now, Zhejiang's strategy is a little different. They call it an all-area linkage. So instead of having one single dominant city, it's more like a connected network of specialized hubs that are all deeply intertwined, creating this incredible web of production that spans the whole province.
And this map just brings that network to life. You can literally see how all these different cities have carved out their own specific niche. It's this beautiful, complex system where every single part knows exactly what its job is.
And the products coming out of here are just unbelievably diverse. You've got Hangzhou, a major center for fashion and clothing. And then you have Yiwu. Yiwu is legendary. It's home to the world's largest market for small commodities. It's a place where you can find and source pretty much any small consumer good you can possibly dream of.
Okay, now let's just hop over to its neighbor, Jiangsu. Looking at this map, you'll spot some of its core cities like Nanjing and Suzhou. And while Jiangsu also produces a ton of consumer goods, it's playing a slightly different game. It has a much more high-tech focus.
And this comparison really nails the difference. If you think of Zhejiang as the world's supermarket, just packed with all the everyday things we buy, then Jiangsu is the high-tech factory next door, focused on things like intelligent manufacturing, new energy, and really advanced electronics. Right. Continuing our trip down the coast, we land in Fujian Province. And again, the numbers are just staggering. In just the first 8 months of 1 year, we're talking about more than 1.2 trillion yuan in exports. That's about 170 billion US dollars. And it was a more than 50% jump from the year before. Incredible. Now, this chart is really important because it tells us something about Fujian's strategy. It shows us where all that stuff is going.
You see that? Over half of its exports are headed to countries that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative. That's not a coincidence. It shows a very specific, very powerful economic focus.
So far, we've pretty much stuck to the coast, right? And it's easy to think this is purely a coastal thing. But that would be a huge mistake. So now, let's venture inland and see how these industrial belts are popping up far away from the major ports.
So here we are in Sichuan province, deep in the country's interior. And would you look at those numbers? Its e-commerce scale hit nearly 136 billion yuan. The capital city, Chengdu, has turned into a major hub for everything from women's shoes to furniture to electronics, and it's still growing at a blistering pace. Looking at the map of Sichuan, you can kind of see how it's structured. Chengdu acts as the core, it's the central engine, and then you have all these other specialized industrial zones for things like equipment and agriculture just radiating outwards from it. And you see a really similar story in the neighboring Hubei province. Here, the capital Wuhan is an absolute beast for the automotive and electronics industries, while other cities like Shenyang specialize in making the auto parts. It creates this complete, comprehensive automotive industry cluster right in the heart of China.
Okay, so we've been all over the country, from the southern coast right into the western interior. Now let's zoom out and try to decode the blueprint. What are the core principles that make this entire system, this global workshop, actually tick?
When you boil it all down, the whole model really rests on these 5 pillars that we've seen over and over again. You've got the geographic clustering, the deep product specialization, that seamless integration with e-commerce, just massive scale, and of course, that incredible supply chain efficiency. I mean, when the supplier for your screws is literally just down the road from your assembly plant, things move very, very fast. And this right here is why all of this matters to you. This isn't some abstract economic theory. It is tangible. It's the real story behind the phone that's probably in your hand, which likely has roots in Shenzhen, or the shoes on your feet from Wenzhou, or maybe the desk you're sitting at from Foshan. Their origin stories all kick off in one of these truly remarkable, specialized cities. So we've taken a snapshot of the global workshop as it is right now, a model built on unbelievable scale and specialization. But, the world never stands still. Technology, automation, trade policies, what we as consumers want, it's all constantly shifting. And that leaves us with one really big question to think about. What will the factory of the world look like tomorrow?